Correct.
Okay, and I think both Carrie Oakes and Eric are coming next week.
I believe so.
All right, fantastic. So 3 days ago, can you believe it's been only 3 days?
No.
Me neither. So 3 days ago, Mr. Owens, in his opening, talked about risky behavior, risky skiing. And he made mention that, you know, of course, Ms. Paltrow was not skiing recklessly, not taking any kind of risky behavior because her children were there that day. Do you recall him saying that?
I think it does misstate my testimony, but
Well, it wasn't testimony that you stated.
my argument.
Can you answer the question?
If I remember what he said?
No, just maybe do you agree with that? That on that day of the collision, you were not engaging in any kind of risky behavior, especially
Correct.
because your kids were there.
I was not engaging in any risky behavior.
Okay, but also, and I think your counsel made mention of this in opening, that especially because your children were there.
I don't recall him saying that.
All right, well, did your children being there make it so that you especially would not engage in risky behavior?
I didn't engage in risky behavior. I wouldn't with my children there or without my children there.
Okay. And kind of in life, I mean, I'm a mom, right? I've got a couple kids, actually about your age, and one of them, not your age, your daughter's age. Sorry, I'm not that old. When my kids are around, I kind of behave myself a little bit better, especially when they were younger, than on average. Would you agree with that?
I've always been very open and honest with my kids, and I think, you know, they know me very well.
Right. And would you agree that you have engaged in risky behavior with your children present?
Your Honor, may we approach?
Sure. We're all back, thank you. So the objection is sustained, and the jury should disregard the question.
All right, let's go back to the day of the accident.
Okay.
So you're on Bandana, correct? It's a green run. It's true you were relatively familiar with that run, correct?
Yes, my children especially like that run.
Okay. And the accident happened towards the beginning of the run. Is that accurate?
Not at the top, but
Sure, but
Yeah.
not at the bottom?
correct.
All right. And it sounds like, from what I have heard and reviewed, you had done about 4 to 5 runs that day, and you and kind of the group were going to go get some lunch with everyone.
Correct.
All right. So let's talk about, as you're skiing down, Apple, we've talked about she was 11, Moses was 9. Did your children, when they were skiing or doing anything that kids do, like to ask you to watch them?
When they were very little, I remember, watch me jump in the pool and things like that. When they were more like 4 or 5 years old, that sort of age.
Okay. So when Moses was 9, he didn't say, "Mommy, mommy, watch me," or "Mom," I don't know what he called you, but
Mama.
"Mama, mama, watch me do things."
Not that I recall on that day.
Okay. Do you remember testifying that on that day, that's exactly what did happen?
I don't remember.
All right, and I'll show you your deposition in just
Sure.
a second. So in fact, you remember the deposition, right?
Yes.
It was actually during 2020. It was during COVID.
Yes.
So it was via Zoom. We've never actually met in person. It was kind of on the video. And you were asked a question a number of times, were your children asking you to watch them? And you said no. I think you...
I don't remember them saying,
Okay.
watch me on that day.
Okay. Well, do you remember that in that deposition, then we played you parts of Carrie Oakes's deposition?
So, Your Honor, this is improper impeachment. I mean, what's the question that's being contested?
We're just kind of going through the history here.
Not through the deposition. Let's
I'll
hear.
allow a few questions. I think counsel was referring to what was going on during depositions, but
Yes.
please get quickly to the question.
Absolutely. Do you remember during your deposition being played just a portion of Apple's instructor, Carrie Oakes, her deposition, wherein she said that, yes, Moses was saying, "Mommy, mommy, watch me."
That she was saying, I don't remember, that while they were skiing, they were saying that?
Yeah.
I don't remember that, no.
All right, okay. And so you don't remember then changing your testimony in your deposition, admitting that that is what happened?
I'm sure if Carrie Oakes said, I'm saying, I don't remember him saying, watch me, watch me.
Okay. Yeah, approach, Your Honor.
You may.
I'm going to hand you a copy of your deposition.
I'm gonna need my reading glasses,
I
unfortunately.
totally
Sorry about that.
I don't think there's a contradiction here, Your Honor. She said she doesn't recall that Carrie Oakes said something. So I don't know why we can't just move forward.
Overruled, go ahead.
Thank you. Could you turn, let's see here, to page 122 of your deposition?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to read the question that was given by Mr. Sykes. Everybody's going to know it's Mr. Sykes who asked the question when I read it. Then I'm going to have you answer. Now, Ms. Paltrow, and this is, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm starting on line 4.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Ms. Paltrow, isn't it true, I'm just a country lawyer here, okay? Isn't it true that your kids wanted to watch you ski? Or, pardon me, that the kids wanted you to watch them ski? Isn't that true? And your counsel, he objected. How did you answer that question?
Let's read the objection, Your Honor, if we're going to do this.
The objection was vague as to time.
Is the Do you want me to rule on the objection? I mean,
If we're going to read it, then we should read the objection.
Okay, read it.
Yes, the objection said vague as to time.
Yes.
Yes, and then how did you respond?
I said I can still watch my children ski and be skied directly into my back by someone,
And then you continued.
which is what happened.
Exactly. So you were watching your children when you alleged that you were skied directly into your back by someone.
My daughter was down the hill. My son was to my left, so I was skiing. My eyes were not fixated only on my son
Okay.
when Mr. Sanderson skied directly into my back.
Okay. And so when Miss Oakes, who's going to testify next week, said that your son Moses was saying, "Mommy, Mommy, watch me," that's who you were watching, right?
That's vague as to time, Your Honor.
Right, right,
Minute,
yes,
just overruled, go ahead.
thank you.
Sorry, what was the
Yeah,
question?
when Moses is saying, "Mommy, Mommy, watch me," that's who you were looking at when you were when you were skied directly into your back.
I do not recall Moses saying, "Mommy, Mommy, watch me" on the ski slope.
Okay, well, Apple was down further, right?
Yes.
She didn't see it.
No.
Okay, and Moses, he was the one, at least according to Carrie Oakes, was calling your attention,
Okay.
okay? 9-year-old, did he want more attention to have somebody watch them rather than 11?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Moses was skiing above you though, right? He hadn't gotten down as far as you.
He was on my left.
And up.
I was on the right. He was, oops, sorry. He was on the left side of the slope. Yes, I believe kind of a little bit uphill.
Okay. And that's where your attention was when you were hit allegedly in the back.
I don't know where my attention was the moment I was struck in the back. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, that's what you said, which is what happened.
He struck me in the back. Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Okay, I know, but you said, "I can still watch my children ski."
Yes,
and he's
meaning
directly into my back by someone, which is what happened.
Yes, exactly.
What's the pending question? It sounds like they're saying the exact same thing.
What's the question?
The question is, you were watching your children ski when you were struck in the back.
So that's asked and answered, Your Honor.
Overruled?
I was skiing and looking downhill as you do, and I was skied directly into by Mr. Sanderson.
Okay. And your 9-year-old son, you will admit, was on your left and up a bit.
To my recollection.
Okay. All right. And Carrie Oakes is the one who says that he was the one calling your attention.
You'll have to speak to Miss Oakes.
We will. All right. So I want to go through the accident a bit. Because we did this over video, we didn't really get to act it out a whole heck of a lot. But I want to just kind of talk with you first and see if this is your recollection of how it happened.
Your Honor, I think this is improper. She should just ask her what happened. Then if she testified contrary to that earlier, then she cross-examines her with the deposition.
And what's the objection?
Improper use of deposition testimony.
It's a party. Under Rule 32, it can be used for any purpose. You may
Okay.
proceed.
Thank you. You were going along relatively slowly. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to kind of ask you a couple
Sure.
questions, so let me know if anything I say is not accurate. Okay?
Okay.
So you're going down relatively slowly when all of a sudden you heard a strange rustling noise behind you.
Yes.
Okay. And you felt like a rush of air in a strange way.
Yes.
Okay. And 2 skis slid in between my skis.
That's correct.
And all of a sudden, there was a body from the whole front of a body pressing into my back.
That's right.
Okay. Like, we'll talk about this in a minute. And there was a man behind me pressing into me. How did you know it was a man?
Because he was making some strange noises that sounded male, and he was large. So I assumed it was a male.
Okay, he was large?
I felt all my back
Okay.
pressing.
Okay. All right, there was a man pressing behind me, pressing into me. I was extremely upset.
Well, I was confused at first, and I didn't know exactly what was happening. It's a very strange thing to happen on a ski slope. And then
I agree.
and I froze, and I would say got very upset a couple seconds later.
Okay. Let me just continue on here. I just want to make sure that I got this all right. I didn't know if it was an intentional assault of a sexual nature.
Right.
Okay. Was he grinding and thrusting or something, or just the noises? What made you think it was a sexual assault?
So that was a quick thought that went through my head when I was trying to reconcile what was happening. I was skiing, and two skis came between my skis, forcing my legs apart, and then there was a body pressing against me, and there was a very strange grunting noise. So my brain was trying to make sense of what was happening. I thought, is this a practical joke? Is this a practical joke? It's really, really strange. My mind was going very, very quickly, and I was trying to ascertain what was happening.
Okay. I think you said, I didn't know if it was an accident, but he was groaning and grunting in a very disturbing way.
Yes, there was a sort of groan coming out of his mouth.
Okay. Then you said, I froze.
Yes.
We kept skiing.
Right.
We went to the right.
Yes,
We came crashing down together.
that's right.
Okay. You said this man was behind me on the mountain. My knee and our skis were still sort of tangled up.
Yes.
Is that yes?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Our bodies were almost spooning, and I moved away quickly.
Yes.
And my knee splayed open, and I was completely in shock.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to stop there.
Okay.
And if the court and Ms. Paltrow, if you don't mind, since, again, when we did this over Zoom, would you mind stepping down and us kind of acting this out a little bit so I could get a good feel?
Let's see, can we approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
court doesn't mind if I act it out, correct?
Let's just get a sustained.
Yeah, the objection was sustained as requested, but, you're welcome to move around the courtroom.
Wonderful, thank you. Do you have a microphone?
Yes. Testing.
Okay, Ms. Paltrow, so your counsel doesn't want you to come down, so I'm not
Your
going to ask
Honor,
you to come down.
that's inappropriate. The judge sustained the objection, so she shouldn't comment on what I want. It's what the judge wants.
The objection was sustained.
I am going to try and be both you and Mr. Sanderson at the same time.
Let's
Fair?
have Bob. Bob can be.
Your Honor, let's have Mr. Sanderson, he's here. Let's have him come
I don't
up.
want to, we're not going to reenact what happened. I think you can ask questions, and
Yes.
if you want to stand and move around in order to help
Perfect.
you with those questions, you can do that, but that's as far as we're going to go.
That's not a problem at all. All right, so since you're not down here, may I ask how tall you are?
I'm just under 5'10".
Okay, I am so jealous.
I think
'cause
I'm shrinking, though.
You and me both. I have to wear 4-inch heels just to make it to 5'5".
Well,
So
they're very nice.
Well, thank you. So, all right. So, as of right now, I'm Gwyneth Paltrow.
Okay.
Okay. I'm skiing down. Can you tell me with my legs? I don't know. Again, I'm not much of a skier. Are you snow plowing? Are you parallel? Kind of orient my legs first of all. Sorry. I can do this. I can do this.
Not snow plowing, just
Okay.
skis.
All right.
It's hard for me to see where you're standing.
May she come down just to see?
You can.
Is that
go to where
okay?
you can see better, or you can walk further forward, Ms. Van
Oh,
Orlen.
sure. Great. No problem. All right. So,
Come on up, but the jury can't see that.
The jury, you can go ahead and stand or move wherever you feel you need to see what's going on here.
all right. So, are my feet oriented correctly?
Yes.
Go ahead and tell me how to move them.
I think, skiing down, going to the right.
Okay. So
Okay,
about
probably a little bit further apart.
about like that.
And then 2 skis slide slowly between my skis.
All right. So my feet are about what, a foot apart? Would you say 18 inches?
Probably.
Okay. And you believe that 2 skis slid right between.
That is correct.
Okay. And so all of a sudden you see these 2 skis coming in between your
Yes.
legs. I would have freaked out too.
And I did.
Okay. So
Commentary. Let's just ask questions.
so the skis are coming. How far did the skis get in between your legs before you guys fell?
His body pressed up into my back.
Okay.
So I froze. I don't know exactly how far the skis would have come through.
Okay.
Because then I noticed his body pressing against my back.
Okay.
And then it was probably a few good seconds, and then we fell to the right. Somebody must have caught an edge.
Okay. So when you froze and you're skiing together, I think you said at one point it was like you were spooning.
Well, when we fell down, we fell. I fell on his body. He fell on the ground. And so it was kind of like a spoon on the ground.
Okay. So
Your Honor, the defendant has come into the well of the court here.
Why can't we see it to the plaintiff? That's fine.
I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
okay. Well, now that Mr. Sanderson is here, and I don't need you to do anything, Terry, but just for comparison's sake, I'm in my heels. We're about the same height, about 5'5" with heels.
It's roughly.
Oh, tell me I'm taller, please. Okay, so we've got Mr. Sanderson that's about 5'5" that comes in back of you, and you said that you felt something huge. What was your word
No,
behind
just
you?
a big
A big
body.
body. All right. And was it just the front of his body that touched the back of your body?
I couldn't see in the back of my head,
Sure.
but I felt a body
Right.
press against my back.
But there was no grabbing, like he didn't like grab your waist or grab your
No,
arms?
not at all. No.
Nothing like that?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. So skis slide between, you kind of freeze, you end up, maybe your skis kind of cross, you end up going down. Would you agree that Mr. Sanderson fell to the ground and then you fell on top?
I don't know if it was simultaneous. I don't remember.
Right. But you didn't fall and hit the ground, correct?
I don't remember exactly where I hit,
Okay.
but I fell over
All right. And
with Mr. Sanderson.
right. And Mr. Sanderson fell and hit the ground.
Yes.
All right. So going back here, you guys are on the ground. Now you realize, right? You're not saying to the jury that this was in any way, shape, or form a sexual assault.
I am not saying that.
Okay.
I'm just saying what went through my mind for a split second when it was happening.
All right, great. So you're down on the ground, and then you started yelling at him.
I don't remember if I started yelling at him while I was on the ground. I remember pushing away because I was very upset, and it was still very strange to me what had happened. And I pushed down the hill, and I turned around, and I yelled at him.
Okay. Did you scream before you went down?
I don't think so.
Okay. So if others heard a scream, you wouldn't, that wasn't you?
No, I froze. When he slid between my skis, I absolutely froze. And I don't remember yelling or screaming until I was very angry at what had happened.
Okay. And so you guys are on the ground, and then you said to him, I think you don't know if you were up or if you were still on the ground, but he was still on the ground, right?
Yes.
When you said, "What are you doing?"
Yes.
Okay. Like, why did you do that?
Yes.
And he said, "I think you skied into me."
Yes.
And that's when you were furious and said, "You skied directly into my effing back at the
Sorry.
top of your lungs."
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I apologize for my bad language.
And well, in fact, you were screaming that so hard, you were worried that Moses was hearing you.
Yes.
Okay. And after you were screaming to him, isn't that when Mr. Sanderson said, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry"?
He said, I said, you skied directly into my effing back. And he said, oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Right. And that was you screaming at him while he's on the ground still, right?
I was yelling at him.
Pretty loud, pretty forceful,
I was pretty upset.
right? You're
Yeah.
small but mighty. Actually, you're not that small. So when he said, "I'm sorry, would you agree that he kind of mumbled it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then you remember Eric came over, Eric Christensen.
Yes.
Who was Moses's instructor.
Correct.
Okay. And that was when you were concerned that, oh gosh, Moses is close by. He's hearing me yell obscenities at this man.
Which is not my custom.
Right. And I think you said that. And at some point, the man stood up and we were all sort of talking.
Yes.
What conversation did you have with Mr. Sanderson standing up?
I wasn't having a conversation with him. Eric was helping him up and asking if he was okay.
Okay. Eric eventually yanked him up, right? He pulled him up.
He helped him up.
Okay. He didn't get up on his own accord.
He helped him.
And were you still standing right there when he helped him?
I believe I was, yes.
You sure you hadn't skied down a little bit?
I might have skied down a little bit. My son was down a little bit, and my now husband came over at some point.
Okay.
So I remember moving away from Mr. Sanderson after he collided into me and we hit the ground.
Okay. And do you remember, we heard from Craig Ramone, he was the first individual who testified. Do you remember him coming to the scene?
I do not.
You don't remember him at all?
No,
You don't remember him being there or asking you, "Are you okay?"
I do not.
Okay. You don't remember him asking Terry if he was okay?
I don't recall.
Okay. All right. And then I think what you've said is Eric told you, I'm going to handle this. And that's what I think you've said people do. They handle things for you.
I don't believe I said that.
You've never said that?
I believe what I said was in the acting world, that's a world of representatives. So you have an agent who represents you. And so if they say, you know, I'm going to provide information, you allow somebody to represent you. So when Eric, as an accredited Deer Valley ski instructor, said to me, I'll fill out the paperwork, he knew also that my daughter was at the bottom waiting for me to come for lunch or at the lunch place.
And so Mr. Christensen handled it for you?
Mr. Christensen stayed and filled out the report, made sure Mr. Sanderson was okay, and said to me, you can go ahead.
Okay. How do you know that if you weren't there?
Because he told me.
Okay. That's what he told you?
Yes.
But you weren't there to see it?
He told you you can leave. He wasn't there. I objected for him. I don't understand the question.
Sustained. Go ahead with your questions.
You weren't there when the paperwork or the exchange of information was given, fair?
Fair.
All right. And would you agree that Mr. Christensen did not see the incident, didn't see the collision?
Correct.
Okay.
He just saw us right afterwards.
Right. But, and in fact, nobody from Deer Valley saw the collision.
Correct.
Your kids didn't see the collision.
That's right.
Okay. The only person that, and you may not be aware of this, the only person who says that they saw the collision was Mr. Ramon.
Yes.
Okay. The way you answer that makes me think that you don't believe that he saw it.
I did not believe his testimony.
Do you believe that he saw the collision?
No. I don't believe that he saw what he thinks he saw.
Ms. Paltrow, why would he lie?
This is a man.
Goes to motive, Your Honor. But perhaps that's not the right objection under the rules, so let me be quiet and withdraw my objection.
Can you answer it?
He said he was at 40 feet away and colorblind. I don't know how he can be positive about what he saw, especially with how much he changed his story.
Well, what does colorblind have to do with anything? My husband's colorblind. We tease him all the time that he can't tell red or green. But what does that have to do with not seeing who hit who?
Well, if you have two people in ski gear with helmets on and you're 40 plus feet away, I'm not sure how you can discern who is who.
Okay, well.
And I can tell you that he didn't, because Mr. Sanderson categorically hit me on that ski slope, and that is the truth.
And I'm sure that that's what you believe. I'm not saying
because it's the truth.
I'm not saying that.
Let's get a question.
So you and Mr. Sanderson, if you're almost 5'10", Terry's 5'5", pushing it.
Your Honor, that's facts not in evidence.
Counsel, you'll have an opportunity to redirect or to direct examine, so go ahead.
If you two stood next to each other, do you think that somebody would confuse the two of you?
I don't know. I'm telling you what happened.
Okay. All right. So you're screaming at Terry, worried that Moses hears you. You admit that you were shaken up.
Yes.
Okay. You don't recall Mr. Ramon being there
I do not.
or asking you if you were okay?
I do not.
Did anybody ask you if you were okay?
I remember Eric Christensen asking me if I was okay, and Brad, my now husband, asking me if I was okay.
Okay, and when you talked to Brad, he was down further, right? Down with
Yes.
Moses. So none of that took place where my client was.
He came over to me after the fall.
Okay. And I just want to make sure you don't have any kind of medical training.
No.
Okay. You don't know what injuries Mr. Sanderson did or did not sustain in the accident.
I do not.
Okay. Okay. Are you aware now that you've sat here the last 3 days that he did sustain 4 broken ribs?
Yes.
Okay. Aware that he sustained a concussion?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that he had to be taken down on a toboggan?
So we should be clear, like, does she know as a result of this testimony, or does she know personally?
Would you clarify your question?
Yeah, sure. How did you learn that he broke 4 ribs?
Through all of this.
Okay, and to make it clear, I don't want to find out anything that your lawyers told you. That's attorney-client privilege. We can't. So anytime I'm asking you, I don't want you to tell me what your lawyers have told you.
Okay.
Through the court proceedings, is that fair?
That's fair.
All right. You learned that Mr. Sanderson broke 4 ribs.
Yes.
Okay, and that he sustained a concussion.
Correct.
Okay, that he was taken down on a toboggan.
Yes.
Did you learn of that day?
No.
Did you inquire?
What is your name again? Sorry. Kristen?
Yes.
Sorry, I was going to say, Kristen,
It's all right.
I think you have to keep in mind when you're the victim of a crash, right, your psychology is not necessarily thinking about the person who perpetrated it.
So the answer to my question is no, you did not inquire.
I did not.
Okay. Did you ever ask, hey, how was that guy that ran into the back of me? Is he okay? Did you ever ask anybody from Deer Valley about that?
I did not, because at the time I did not know that he had sustained injuries like that. I thought it was very minor on the day.
And you didn't stick around long enough to find that out.
I stuck around long enough for him to say he was okay, to stand up, that he told Mr. Christensen he was okay.
And when he was helped up by Mr. Christensen, again, you weren't right there. You were down a ways.
Just a few feet down, yes.
Could you tell if Mr. Sanderson was still dazed or unsteady on his feet?
I could not. I don't know.
Okay. And again, you didn't leave your name, address, contact information. You didn't fill out any paperwork in connection with this accident.
Eric did on my behalf.
Right, but I'm asking about you personally.
Well, it has been asked and answered.
Sustained.
Okay. After the incident, you skied down, went to lunch, and then my understanding is you got a massage.
So after the accident, I met all the rest of the kids at lunch. We all gathered. We had lunch. And I still felt very shaky, and my knee was bothering me, my back was bothering me, so I decided to go in early and get a massage.
Okay. You never did seek any kind of medical treatment for your knee or your back?
No.
Okay. Now, at the scene, before you skied down and had lunch, there was no indication that Mr. Sanderson knew who you were. Is that fair?
I don't know.
Okay. I think, well, you testified there was no indication of that. You were wearing goggles, a helmet?
Yes.
Okay, kind of looked like everybody else on the slope?
That's always my intention.
Okay. Probably had a better ski outfit, though, I bet.
I still have the same one. I just have one.
Okay. So nobody on the hill would be able to recognize you. Is that fair? Maybe your family and friends?
I have been recognized on ski slopes before.
Okay. Do you recall testifying in your deposition that no one on the hill would be able to recognize me?
That would be the idea.
Okay.
But sometimes paparazzi has a way of figuring it out, is my point.
Okay. So your testimony to the jury here today is Mr. Sanderson skied into you.
That is correct.
All right. Craig Ramone, you said he's not telling the truth, or you don't believe him.
I'm telling you that what he said is not what happened.
Okay. So in other words, if somebody says something that's not what happened, they're lying.
He is not telling the truth.
All right.
I don't know if he knows he's lying, but I'm telling you what he said is unfortunately not the truth.
All right. Well, in addition to Mr. Ramone, you've sat here when some of the experts have testified. We had Dr. Gibby, and we heard Dr. BAME, I always want to say BOM or BOM,
Yes.
BAME. You've heard their testimony that the only way that Mr. Sanderson's ribs could have been broken where they were is that if he was hit from behind. You disagree with that?
I think it misstates their testimony.
I guess I'm not sure what the objection is, but it's overruled. The jury will have to remember what the testimony was.
That means you get to answer. You disagree with their testimony?
Absolutely, I disagree.
Okay. What medical training do you have to disagree with that?
I'm just telling you the truth of what actually happened.
Okay.
That's all I can do.
All right. And you don't have any other witnesses who sought to support your position, correct?
Well, I have a lot of witnesses who saw the split seconds afterwards and the positions of the bodies on the mountain, which would indicate very clearly who hit who.
Okay. Do you have any witnesses who saw it?
Who saw the collision?
The collision?
No.
All right. And you're not trained in accident reconstruction?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Neither am I. All right. So, Ms. Paltrow, isn't it true that this was an accident that you caused?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Would you agree that you are accident prone?
So, Your Honor, can we have a bench meeting on this?
Why don't we take our recess now? Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Motion or something?
Your Honor, why are we dealing with things that have been addressed specifically on pretrial motions? And I have to object.
Which motion?
Number 14. Previous unrelated injuries.
The court's ruling on that was that it appears the plaintiff does not intend to inquire into the areas covered by that motion. I think it was represented to the court and the motion was therefore granted. The ruling would be revisited if the defendant opens the door to these areas of evidence at trial. What's the relevance? Let's say she's clumsy. There's been no testimony that clumsiness in any way contributed to the accident.
Your Honor, we also mentioned during that court hearing that questions were asked repeatedly in Ms. Paltrow's deposition if she was accident prone, to which she said, no, I am not, which she has admitted a number of times that she is. So this is all impeachment evidence, and that's when the court said, okay, that's impeachment. Please provide that information to counsel, which I did. He has all of the articles, etc., and the video where Ms. Paltrow went on Jimmy Kimmel saying, yes, I am accident prone, I am always running into things, which is I'm a moron, which is very relevant to this case.
How?
How?
Yeah.
Because we believe that that's exactly what she did, is she ran into things like she always does. She was asked if she ever said that. She said no. And we have impeachment evidence that she has.
But you've got your accident reconstructionist did not testify that her clumsiness somehow had played a part in the cause of the accident.
It's not just clumsiness, it says she's running into things, that she's accident prone. Absolutely, that's the heart of this. And the point is, she was asked a number of times in her deposition, were you...
And that part I think I see as collateral impeachment, so I don't see that as, I don't see that as your avenue to get the evidence in. The closest, I guess, is your theory of the case, but you've got no expert and no one that testified that clumsiness somehow played a part in the accident. So it would just be argument based on kind of fringe impeachment.
It's not clumsiness, it's being accident prone and always running into things.
Okay.
Which is what we contend she did in this case.
All right. Let me hear from Mr. Owens.
We shouldn't pretend that we have not had this fight before. I'm in deja vu from 2 months ago when when you already ruled on this. The judge, Your Honor, said the ruling will be revisited if defendant opens the door to these areas of evidence at trial. That's part of page 13. I didn't even have the motions around because we've already had it granted, so why would we need to go dig and find out what our motion said? So, Your Honor, Ramon didn't testify that she looked clumsy, for instance. Ms. Paltrow never says, did not say, I've never been clumsy. Anyway, you've ruled, and we're in deja vu here.
I've ruled, under Rule 404, evidence of a person's character or character trait is not admissible to prove that on a particular occasion the person acted in conformity with the character or trait. And under the court's motion in limine decision, it indicates on page 13, motion 14 pertains to her public appearances and previous unrelated injuries. That's the previous instances of that I believe that Ms. Van Orman's referring to. And the court's order says it appears the plaintiff does not intend to inquire into the areas covered by these motions, and the motions are therefore granted. The ruling will be revisited if the defendant opens the door. If that occurs and the plaintiff wishes to present any of the categories of evidence, he must first address this with the court out of the presence of the jury. And I guess there wasn't any request. Is that what your motion that is pending relates to, that you want a clarification?
No, that's regarding the ski expert.
Okay.
But what about prior inconsistent statements, Your Honor? I'm entitled to ask her if she's testified. She's lied under oath a number of times, and I want to be able
Your Honor,
to show the jury that...
slanderous, and I want it withdrawn this moment.
Well,
she has testified inconsistent.
Just a moment.
I'm not going to say...
Well, counsel, I'm talking, okay? Have a seat. Have a seat. Okay, with the statement that you just made, do you want to rephrase that?
Yes, absolutely. She has made prior inconsistent statements. During her deposition, Ms. Paltrow was asked a number of times, 3, 4, 5 times.
That may be on this issue. That
Yes.
may be, but to me, without some witness tying it into the essential elements of this case, or the essential issues in this case, I see it as collateral impeachment. So.
Even the fact that Mr. Ramon has testified that she skied into Mr. Sanderson, as in she is also walking into walls, etc.
The ruling was, my understanding was that the plaintiff was not going to inquire into the areas covered by the motions, which included that the previous unrelated injuries or other instances of conduct. So I'm going to stand by my ruling. I haven't revisited it. I think it's a good ruling. So.
I'd like an apology, Your Honor.
There was, and I am sorry, all I'm saying, there were inconsistent statements. I am not trying to slander Ms. Paltrow nor say that she's lying by any which way, form.
We accept. Thank you. My client says she accepts that.
Okay. Thank you. Let's take a short break and come back maybe 5 after. Yes, please. I think the jury's coming.
They're waiting.
Okay, you can bring them in. Ms. Van Orman, you may proceed.
Yes, thank you. So, Ms. Paltrow, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about kind of, this was where my whole,
Just get on the record that my objection was sustained.
I'm sure it was on the record whenever it was there. I don't recall.
Okay, I think we just said that now would be a good time for a bench meeting, but
The objection was sustained.
okay, I'm moving on, shifting gears.
Right.
So, Ms. Paltrow, the reason I got involved in this case in the first place was your counterclaim. So I want to talk with you about the counterclaim. Is it true that you feel it's unfair that Mr. Sanderson has brought this case against you?
I do.
Okay. And he has deterred you from enjoying the rest of what was a very expensive vacation?
Well, I lost half a day of skiing.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And I think that's what your counsel has argued as well, that you you had a full day pass, but you can only ski a half a day.
Yes, I went back down after lunch.
Okay, right. And that's when you had lunch and you got a massage.
Yes.
Okay. Didn't get your knee checked out, didn't have any kind of medical attention.
No, it didn't feel acute in any way. It felt just like I had overstretched my knee and I had sustained a blow, but it didn't feel like it needed medical attention.
Okay. And you're bringing this claim for $1.
I am.
Okay. In fact, your counsel, Steve, do you still have that dollar bill? That
yes, I'll let you use your own.
I'm not going to even respond to that. Nah, I don't need it.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't need it. You saw Mr. Owens wave that $1 around, right?
I did.
Okay. $1 in symbolic damages. Is that accurate?
It's an actual dollar that I'm asking for.
Okay, but you also have testified when I asked you questions in your deposition
Yes.
that 1 is symbolic. Do you remember me asking you
It's
about
symbolic because the damages would actually be more.
that? Okay. But remember me asking you, is it symbolic? And you said, yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay. And I asked you as well, you learned about that through Taylor Swift because she asked for $1 in symbolic damages, right?
And I think I said at that point I had not been familiar with it, but I since am.
Now you are.
Yes.
But at the time, a couple of years ago in 2020, you didn't know anything about Taylor Swift's $1 symbolic damage lawsuit?
Just relevance, Your Honor.
Counsel?
Yeah, because I asked her about it at the time, and she denied it.
Okay.
Correct.
Can you answer the
Just
question?
relevance.
I was not aware at the time.
Are you good
I-
friends with Taylor Swift?
No,
Relevance.
Overruled?
You're not good friends with Taylor Swift.
I would not say we're good friends. We are friendly. I've taken my kids to one of her concerts before, but we don't talk very often.
You've never given Miss Swift personal, intimate gifts for Christmas.
Your Honor. Relevance, or I
Sustained
would
as
like
to
a
relevance.
bench trial.
Well,
or-
she's just said that she wasn't friends with her, so I'm inquiring on that.
Ask her about Oprah. I mean,
Mr. Owens, sustained. Please move on.
You're telling the jury that you are here asking for $1.
I am.
That's not totally accurate, though, is it?
What do you mean?
Well, the jury isn't going to be deciding this, but you're also asking the judge to award you attorney's fees for over hundreds of thousands of dollars. Isn't that true?
Your Honor, the judge has made a ruling on this issue, that it will be a separate event.
Sustained as to relevance.
The relevance is, Your Honor, that they have...
You want to argue the relevance, we should do it up here.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Yes? Okay. Objections overruled?
Thank you. And I'll restate it because I know it's been a little while. So it's not true, Ms. Paltrow, that you are just asking for $1. You are also asking, and this is not for the jury to decide, but this is for the court to decide later, you're asking for your attorney's fees in this case, which could be quite substantial. Is that not true?
So
It's a
I'm
yes- it's a
asking
yes
for
or no.
$1 for me and then reimbursement of attorney's fees, which is a separate thing,
And that could be a substantial amount, correct?
potentially.
Okay. And when your counsel got up waving that $1, don't you think that's a little bit of a mischaracterization?
Your Honor, she said, I have one more question on this issue, and this is now 3.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Don't you think that that's $1? That's a mischaracterization, isn't it?
I took it as I would receive that $1, which is all I am asking for.
Ms. Paltrow, isn't it true that you've misrepresented a number of things today to this jury?
Absolutely not.
No other questions.
Mr. Owens?
You've been here every minute of this jury trial, true?
True.
And you're intending to be here every minute next week?
I am.
Have you enjoyed yourself?
I've learned a lot.
Who hit who?
Mr. Sanderson hit me.
The comment was that Mr. Sanderson doesn't take criticism well. Do you take criticism well?
In my profession, after all these years of being in the public eye, I think I take it relatively well.
You keep sending me notes. I didn't cause these damages.
That's
Right?
absolutely correct.
Do you feel some empathy for Mr. Sanderson and his declining brain?
You know, I really do. I feel very sorry for him. It seems like he's had a very difficult life, but I did not cause the accident, so I cannot be at fault for anything that subsequently happened to him.
So his daughter got up and said he was cursing out her daughter. Did you hear that?
I did hear that.
Did you cause that?
I did not cause that.
Did you give him brain injuries that were evident on his MRI in 2006?
I did not.
All right, let's start on a happier note. Let's bring up that picture of you and Moses. And while that's coming up, did you personally take a selfie with you and your son?
I take selfies with my kids all the time, yes.
All right, and we're going to pull it up in just a minute. You know what picture I'm talking about. Did you
Yes.
personally take that photo
I did.
on the day at issue?
I did before the accident.
Okay, and it's hard to tell who the 9-year-old is there.
Thank you.
Are you on the right or left?
I'm on the right.
And Moses is on the left.
Yes.
And are you going up the ski lift?
It looks like it.
This is Defense 86. If we haven't moved for its admission, I would like to do so.
No objection.
Defendant's 86 is received.
And I notice, do you have a helmet on there
I do.
and goggles?
Yes.
Did you always that day while on the slopes?
Yes.
Mr. Ramon testified, for instance, you were not wearing a helmet or goggles or any face covering whatsoever. True or it's not true?
I think you can see the evidence that I was wearing a helmet and goggles.
So answer my question, please.
Sorry.
Is it true or not true that at the time of the collision and in the aftermath, you were or were not wearing a helmet
I was.
and goggles?
Correct.
Did you ski at all that day without a helmet?
No.
Is that for anonymity? I'm saying it wrong.
Anonymity?
Thanks for saying that. And also for safety or both or what?
It's for safety primarily, but yes, I like to, when I'm skiing, try to keep a low profile.
You were asked about, well, let me back up even further.
Okay.
You told me you learned to ski at Alta.
I did, actually.
Tell me a little about that.
My father was, he loved skiing, and he had learned later in life. And so he was determined for my brother and I to learn how to ski when we were young. And he used to do these really sweet one-on-one ski trips with us where he would take us to various destinations, and Alta was one of them.
And then he died young, true?
Unfortunately,
And
yes.
did you stop in his 50s? That's how I'm in my 50s, but
I'm in
did
my
you
50s.
Did you
It's very
stop
young.
skiing for a while?
I did. I was pretty devastated by his death, and just being in a ski resort and on a chairlift, it was difficult for me. So I avoided it for a few years until I had my own kids, and then I heard his voice in my head thinking I should teach them how to ski.
And Brad Falchuk, you were dating him at the time.
Yes.
And now married to him.
Yes.
Were you skiing with the Coldplay guy, according to Ramon?
No.
Who's the Coldplay guy?
The Coldplay guy, I believe, he's referring to my first husband, Chris Martin. He's the singer, and he's a guitar player and a piano player in the band Coldplay.
Thank you. And did this kind of blending of the family's trip have some significance to you?
Yes, this was a significant trip for us. It was the first time Brad and I were introducing our kids and doing something together as to see if we could blend families.
There's an implication that at the time of this collision, you were distracted. Were you distracted?
No,
Were you paying attention to where you were skiing?
I was.
Was there anyone in front of you?
There was not.
There's an implication that somehow you're looking at Moses up the hill to the left while you're skiing downhill. Were you doing that?
I was not.
Carrie Oakes of Deer Valley does say something in her deposition about the kids wanting you to see them or something. Were you in fact, did you all meet at the top of the hill?
I think we were 6 in our group plus our ski instructors, so we would always meet that day at the top of the chair and kind of plot out where everyone was going.
Great. Okay, the 6 people, let's just make sure we know who they are.
Myself, Brad, my stepdaughter Isabella, my daughter Apple, my son Moses, and my stepson Brody.
Okay. And then you had paid for each of the 4 kids to have their own individual instructors.
They were all very different levels, so Brad paid for his kids and I paid for mine.
All right. The $1 that I'll probably waive in closing, but not this minute. Were you planning to ski the whole day?
I was.
And did you send a little text after lunch?
Yes.
Can you bring this up? And I'm going to get this board.
Has it been admitted?
So good question. D110 is the text.
Any objection?
No objection.
Exhibit 110 for defendants is received.
These are kind of hard to see, and James is going to bring it up.
D110.
It's right here. 83A is the better copy, I guess.
What are you showing?
So, Gwyneth, do you have a defense binder there?
I just have my deposition.
Yes. And so, let's give her ours. I'm going to hand you this binder. Can we move to admit 83B?
No objection.
Defense Exhibit 83B is received.
It's a little hard to see.
Okay.
And James, could you blow up the last sort of, yes. I think we need to go back just a little more to put a date on it. Do you recall I asked you, hey, did you text anyone that day? Do you remember this?
Yes.
And this is your own personal cell phone copy?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and there's a date. Sorry, it's a bad copy. February 24, sorry, February 26, 2016. Is that in fact a true and correct copy of your phone screen?
Yes.
And who were you texting with, do you recall?
Eric Christensen, the ski instructor.
All right, so we went down Bandana. So you'd already been down that very, oh, my board. I'm gonna get my board in case this is better copy. All right, okay, cool. Which one's you, on the right or left, do you know? The green?
Eric is the green and I'm the white.
Okay, cool. We should take north side up, question mark. That's you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go back out. And in the afternoon, let's go at the, okay, let's keep going down. Oh, let's go Ruby left. So you're coordinating a little bit?
Yes.
On the mountain in real time, correct?
Yes.
And then, sorry, James, I'm testing you out here. Moses wants to know if you are still skiing and where. All right, so it's 2:29, and this is, no one's thinking lawsuit yet, right?
No.
And that's you on the left with the G, and
Yes.
it says, can you read it?
It says, I came in. That guy sort of hurt me. I'm going to get a massage at 3. Gigi is here if he wants to come.
Okay, Gigi was helping with the kids?
Yeah, Gigi was our babysitter.
All right. Did you go in earlier because you had been hit?
I did, yes.
Did you personally pay for a ski pass at Deer Valley?
I did.
And was it a full day pass?
It was.
And was it, is the monetary difference between the full day pass and the half day pass more than $1?
It is.
Ms. Van Orman kept saying when you were allegedly hit. Were you hit?
I was hit.
The definition of an assault is an unauthorized touching.
Yes.
Did Mr. Sanderson touch you in an unauthorized manner?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
You may. And you should disregard the question.
Did he touch you without your permission?
He did.
The sexual part, by the way, that's just for a split second. You're thinking, what's going on here?
Yes, I was trying to put together what could possibly be happening behind me.
A scream. I think there are a couple witnesses that said they heard some noise.
Yes, when we fell.
Is it impossible you let out a noise upon being hit?
I think it's impossible that I let out a noise upon being hit because it was a very slow move. It wasn't an impact. The impact came when we fell on the ground. So it's very possible that when the impact was made, I screamed. But I do not recall making a sound until we were falling or on the ground.
Okay. So a collision, when I think of two skiers hitting each other, I think of a hit and then sort of separation between the two.
Yes.
Is that what happened with you?
No, this was very strange. It was a slow in between my skis with his skis, and then like 1,000, 2 1,000-ish, and then a fall.
The defense has prepared an animation exhibit that will be shown next week. Have you personally reviewed that?
I have.
And does it accurately state what you believe has occurred that day?
Yes.
Now, it's not precise in the sense that it's not actual video of the event, right? But it does a good job of sort of setting the stage
Yes.
and animating what occurred.
Your Honor, there needs to be some clarification as to what part of the animation he's referring to.
Agreed. It's sustained as to vagueness and
Sure.
therefore relevance.
Sure. Have you seen the animations?
I have.
All right. Not every witness saw everything. Fair to say?
Fair.
All right. For instance, you didn't see anyone in front of you, but you felt someone behind you?
Yes.
So you wouldn't possibly know, for instance, where Sanderson was coming from.
No, he was behind me.
I'm trying to satisfy the
Pardon me?
prior.
Objection leading.
Sustained?
Does the animation fairly represent your story?
It does.
One thing Craig Ramon said is that Mr. Sanderson was out cold for 2 or more minutes. Do you recall that testimony?
To be honest, he's said so many different minutes, so many times, I don't recall exactly.
All right. Assume that he said minutes, that
Okay.
he was literally unconscious for minutes. Did you observe that?
That Mr. Sanderson was unconscious for minutes?
Yes.
No, he
Or-
was not.
Or unconscious at all?
I don't know. Based on what I've heard from the doctors, you can be unconscious for a split second, so it's possible he was for a split second.
So, where were you as you go down the hill?
On the right side of Bandana.
Was there a reason you were there?
I just tend to try to, especially on a crowded run, I was trying to ski, you know, a little bit to the side and make turns.
Were you being an aggressive skier? Like, I'm gonna go
No.
as fast as I can to get
This
down?
is a green run with lots of families. Absolutely not.
It's a green run, but it's not a bunny run, right? It actually, I mean, it's one of your favorite runs?
It was one of my kids' favorite ones. They were learning.
Gotcha. Because it comes down quite a ways.
It does. It's a nice long run.
And was this toward the top, do you recall?
It was toward the top, but not at the top, if that makes sense.
Would you have observed, first of all, did you personally look and see Mr. Sanderson
On the ground?
after the event?
Yes.
And was he unconscious when you saw him?
No.
Then they're saying Eric Christensen. They're saying Eric Christensen observed that.
I did.
And they're saying that he yelled aggressively toward Mr. Sanderson. Did you observe that?
He did not yell at Mr. Sanderson, no.
He's going to testify on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
From your interactions with Mr. Christensen, is that consistent with his personality to be aggressive like that?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for character evidence.
Sustained?
How many times before had you interacted with Mr. Christensen?
Well, it's a while back now, but I know that we had him teach my son Moses on at least one other occasion. He was always incredibly kind, very patient. My son was a beginner and frustrated that he couldn't ski better faster, and Mr. Christensen was incredibly patient and sweet with him.
He's a high school art teacher, I guess, on the side, or
Yes.
one of the other?
He makes pottery.
There was an early comment about a hit and run. Did you hit and run?
Absolutely not.
And Deer Valley was dismissed on that, was a prior party and was dismissed. Do you recall that?
That's correct.
I think there was an allegation that Eric Christensen did some funny business with the paperwork to protect you, his paying client.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Sustained?
Did you expect Eric Christensen to falsify his paperwork?
Of course not.
Agent and representative in the legal world, I can tell you, is a little different maybe than in the acting world.
Right.
This idea that when Eric told me to leave,
Mm-hmm.
I felt okay to leave.
Yes.
Just comment on that. Was that a cover-up?
No,
Objection,
certainly.
Your Honor. Relevance.
Sustained?
Was Eric Christensen your legal representative on the mountain?
Objection. Relevance.
Overruled on that.
Go ahead.
No, he was not.
Did you stick around for a while after the collision?
I did indeed.
Going back to the $1, Eric Christensen, you had paid Eric Christensen to take teach your son how to ski that day for the full day, true?
Yes.
And was his attention diverted as a result of your collision?
Yes, for a while.
And that $1 of damages, does that also take into account that fact?
I haven't quantified, if you break it out, what a Deer Valley ski instructor makes per hour, but I think it's more than $1.
The comment was the word symbolic was used, but did you in fact lose $1 or more as a result of the collision?
I did.
Did you hurt yourself? I'm sorry. Did Mr. Sanderson hurt you by hitting you?
He did.
And please explain.
Well, when we fell over, my right knee felt like it had been overstretched and my back hurt.
All right. And you got a massage but did not seek medical care. Is that what I understand?
I did not.
Eric Christensen's going to testify on Monday. He's going to say words to the effect that he heard and turned.
Mm-hmm.
Ramon similarly said that, didn't he?
I believe he did.
He wasn't focused just on Terry right before the incident. He heard and turned and saw them a group go down, correct?
That's what he said.
Sustained.
We'll let the jury remember then.
Move to strike that question if that wasn't even a question.
Yeah, the question, the answer, and the comment afterward are stricken. You should disregard.
Moses and Apple are coming, and Brad on Monday morning.
They are.
Missing school to do it.
Apple will be missing school, unfortunately, and Moses will be on spring break, so he will not be.
You've heard, next week you will hear from our experts, but do they 100% support your version of what occurred?
Yes.
And I said your version of what occurred, but I do mean to say what occurred. You know what occurred, right?
I absolutely do. I was there.
When they say, did anyone witness this, and Mr. Sanderson doesn't really remember things, you remember things, don't you?
I do.
Objection leading.
Sustained.
Were you knocked out?
I was not knocked out, no.
Do you have memory loss of the event?
I do not. I mean, it was a long time ago, but...
That's fair. One moment, please. Just one quick thing. We're going to bring up a Deer Valley receipt that actually shows the amount paid.
Any objection to this exhibit? What is it? Which number is it? Any objection?
No objection.
Defendant's Exhibit 85 is received.
We want to protect an address if we needed to, but it turns out we don't need to. So there's been no objection, and James, would you bring that up? There's an address there, maybe enlarge so D85, move for admission if we haven't, and then, is this your actual receipt from Deer Valley?
Yes.
And it's in that binder in front of you if you need to look
Okay.
at it.
What number is the
Yes,
exhibit?
let me come get that. And
You may.
85.
Okay. I see. Thank you.
All right. It's kind of hard to see.
I can see it.
The tab between the four of you for four kids, couple days, nearly $9,000, eh?
That's what they charge.
I think, again, there's this assertion that because you were paying Eric Christensen, you expected him to lie for you.
Objection. Mischaracterizes questioning, insinuations, or evidence.
Overruled, the jury will recall the evidence, or the questioning and the answers before.
All right.
Does that mean I don't?
You can answer.
So
Did you expect Eric Christensen to lie for you?
absolutely not.
But he was on your payroll, wasn't he?
But this is what Deer Valley charges. So anytime you go and you ask for a private instructor, that's the fee, unfortunately.
Okay, and we'll let Eric talk about this on Monday.
Okay.
Those are all of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Van Orman?
I will be quick, and I promise that that actually will stay the case. If I can find my glasses. All right. Just to follow up on a couple things you were just asked about. You were shown the text message, I think that's on that board there.
Yes.
And counsel had asked you, that text message was made before there were any lawsuits going on, right?
It was.
Okay. So are you aware that Mr. Ramon reported to the ski patrol that you hit Terry in the back about 10 minutes after the crash?
I don't understand the question.
That's not in evidence.
Are you aware that Mr. Ramon, about 10 minutes after the accident, reported to ski patrol that you struck Mr. Sanderson in the back?
I don't think so.
Okay. If that report was made, 10 minutes after the crash, that was long before a lawsuit was even contemplated as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned about keeping a low profile. You like to keep a low profile
When skiing.
when you're skiing. Correct. Does screaming at the top of your lungs profanities at Mr. Sanderson when he's on the ground keeping a low profile?
After an incident like that where you feel hurt and violated, unfortunately, adrenaline can take over and emotion as well.
Okay. And counsel had asked you about touching you without your permission. I just want to make clear, we didn't do the little
Dance.
Dance. Thank you. Yeah, the little dance. But when I tried to reenact it with myself, which is, I'm sure I'll get crap for that later from my children, it was the front of his body that you believe touched you, right?
Yes.
Not his arms, not his hands.
Correct.
Okay. And when you guys fell to the ground, you landed on him. He did not land on you.
That's right.
Okay. All right. You screamed when you fell?
What I remember, the first time I remember yelling was at Mr. Sanderson after the accident, but it's possible that I could have yelled when we were falling.
Okay. And then you've described, and you've kind of put with your fingers, how Mr. Sanderson's skis went in between yours. Do you have any explanation how somebody, if you're moving, because you were moving, right?
Yes.
He's moving.
Yep.
How somebody could, I'm just going to call it thread the needle, stick. How can somebody, as they're moving down this hill, have the ability to put their skis in between yours when they're like 18 inches apart?
I don't know, but that's what happened.
Okay. You testified that this was a crowded run?
There were people on the run.
Okay, but you've just said when I asked you questions earlier, nobody was in front of you.
Nobody was directly in front of me, no.
Okay. Were there people in your vision in front of you?
There were people on the run.
Okay. It was crowded.
It was, I think it was moderately crowded on that day.
Okay. And some of the people were your daughter and Carrie Oakes down below, and your son and Eric Christensen to the left and up a little bit.
I believe so.
Okay. And you've mentioned that Mr. Christensen was kind and patient with your son.
He was.
Okay.
Very much so.
All right. You did pay him a lot and tip him well.
I paid Deer Valley Resort. I don't know what the resort pays their instructors, so that would be a question for them.
Do you tip Mr. Christensen well?
I hope so.
Okay. Me too. But I would hope also, if you're going to use this, you'd had him as an instructor before, right?
Yes.
Okay. You would expect him to be kind and patient with your son.
Well, he was kind and patient the first time, which is why we asked to have him again.
Okay. Great. You said that you stuck around, but while you stuck around, you never asked Mr. Sanderson if he was okay.
Correct, because he had hit me and I was very upset.
All right. You still didn't think it would be appropriate to ask somebody if they're all right?
Mr. Christensen asked if he was okay, and he said he was. Meaning Mr. Sanderson.
I think you said that he mumbled it.
He said, I'm okay.
Okay. You've been asked a number of questions about the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
You were asked in your deposition, were you not, to your understanding, you're making a claim for the sum of $1 as a symbolic loss, right?
Yes.
And you said correct. Yes?
That's right.
Okay. And then I also asked you in your deposition, are you telling me now you're making a claim for more than the sum of $1? Do you remember what your response was?
I don't remember.
You said no. That's not the case, though, is it?
Your Honor, this is...
It's a yes or no.
That's an improper question. She gave the answer.
Overruled?
It's a yes or no. Are you making a claim more than $1 in this case?
Now I am, yes.
Thank you. No other questions.
Mr. Owens?
Actually, sorry, before that, one more. What's changed between now and when I took your deposition in 2020?
What do you mean?
Well, in 2020, you said, no, I'm not. Now you said, now you are. What's changed?
Well, you're making so for me, as I said, there's a delineation between the $1 that I would receive and the lawyer's fees being reimbursed, which is not to me.
Okay, so then now you're not changing your position.
No.
Okay, so you've always been seeking more than $1.
At the time of the deposition, I was seeking $1 for myself, and I don't recall at the time of the deposition if we were also asking for the lawyer's fees reimbursement.
Well, I'll represent to you that that was pled in the counterclaim. I could show you a copy if you'd like.
I'm sure you could.
Do you disagree with that?
Do I disagree with
That in the counterclaim where you had sued my client and how I got involved on this case,
Yes.
that you had asked for $1 plus attorney's fees?
I am asking for $1 plus reimbursement of attorney's fees, or that they're being paid.
And you've done that from day one since you filed the counterclaim against Mr. Sanderson?
Yes.
Thank you.
We're going to pull up P3, which I think has been admitted. It's the Deer Valley report by Eric Christensen. And for Gwyneth, do you know what the email is? So can I come? May I?
You may.
I'm going to just show you D3 here.
Okay.
It's not the same. Do you know what our Deer Valley decision? I'll tell you what. Would you come down? laser here. If I need it, it's a little red thing. Did you see this on the first day of testimony? And James, maybe do the top third. This is Christensen's report.
Yes.
It says male skier took her out from behind. Is
Yes.
that what happened?
Yes.
This report is accurate?
Very.
I didn't see it, but heard her scream as she went down. Do you dispute that?
I don't.
I skied directly to her. Did he do that?
He did, yes.
The man was behind her. Both were in discomfort. Is that all true?
Yes.
During lunch, she talked of being stiff and sore. Is that a true statement?
It is.
Can we go to the second, third now, please? I'm glad you can see it on your monitor. We had a hard time getting those going. All right, I'm gonna look here. It says on the right there, a patroller came by to check on everyone. Do you have a memory of that?
I don't.
All right.
I'm afraid.
And then the bottom third, please.
Your Honor, I'm going to object that this goes beyond the scope of my read, direct, cross, etc.
Your Honor, I'm addressing this because she was asked additional questions about sort of where, who hit to. First thing male skier stated was that she, meaning you, appeared right in front of him. All right, did you hear that?
No.
Do you dispute it occurred?
No.
Thus admitting he was the uphill skier.
He was.
She never saw him because he came in from behind.
Correct.
Did you see Mr. Sanderson in front of you?
No, he was behind me.
Did you have a lash in your eye or otherwise have some eyesight problem?
Nope, I still have 20/20. I need reading glasses though.
Were you blind in one eye and limited in the other?
No.
All right. I think there's a reference here that given your height and Mr. Sanderson less height, less being less tall, that somehow you couldn't have felt him against your back. Can you just comment on that?
Well, he was uphill of me, so he was higher than me, and he pressed whatever of his body against my back when his skis slid between mine.
Were you standing still when the skis came between you?
No, I was gently skiing, and he kind of gently skied right into me.
Does that mean Mr. Sanderson was going faster than you were going?
No, it wasn't an impact
Okay. Well,
until we hit the ground.
to come up upon you,
Yes.
I guess he had to have been skiing a little faster than you. Fair?
I don't know because he was behind me, so I don't know what he was doing.
All right. Ramon said that Sanderson had his head downhill, spread eagle, out cold. Did you observe that?
No.
Was his head downhill?
Your Honor, objection goes beyond the scope.
I think you're going beyond the scope.
Your Honor, she was asked about, I'll move on, but she was asking about where people were.
She did ask where people landed in her redirect or recross, so you can go into that.
Thanks. So you heard Ramon say spread eagle, head down, right?
I did.
Out cold.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have noticed if he had been spread eagle? First, just comment on that. Yes or no?
Objection leading.
Sustained?
Just comment. Like, I did see him spread eagle, or he did not. I'm trying to be as broad as I can on that.
Well, that's leading.
Okay.
It's on Friday.
It is? That is true. Was your head, when you came to arrest, downhill?
both of our heads were in the same direction, uphill.
So Ramon said they were both downhill.
That is incorrect. The expert today even said it was impossible for him to get lift off, and so that's just not what happened.
The comment was that you cursed at him. Why didn't you say, pardon me, sir, I think you inadvertently ran into me? Why didn't you do that in a nice, calm manner?
Again, I felt violated. I was upset. I was worried about my knee. My back hurt. It felt violating to have somebody press their body against my back. I was full of adrenaline. I was really upset, and I'm sorry that I cursed.
I think Ramon said something like someone gave him the stink eye. Your Coldplay buddy, who wasn't your Coldplay buddy, but gave him the stink eye or something to that effect.
I don't remember that.
A mean look.
I don't know who that would have been, and I don't remember.
Brad probably wasn't too happy that someone had hurt his girlfriend.
Objection beyond the scope.
I'll let it go. Who hit who?
Objection asked and
Oh my
answered.
gosh.
I want it.
What a waste of time.
Sustained.
3 words, Your Honor.
Asked and answered.
We'll let it go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cross.
It's 5 o'clock. We're done. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the jury, let me just give you the same instruction that I have given you a few times. So we're recessing now until 9 a.m. on Monday morning. And so you'll be on your own over the weekend. Before we recess, I need to remind you of the following instruction. Please do not discuss this case with anyone, including other jurors. Please do not attempt to learn anything about the case outside of the courtroom, including from other jurors. Please avoid radio, TV, internet, and newspaper reports on this case. Please keep an open mind throughout the presentation of the evidence, and please do not form or express an opinion on this case until such time as it is finally submitted to you for deliberations. And the final instruction is have a great weekend. You can step down, and you can leave too.
May I excuse my client?
Yes.
Your Honor, we may call our client in our case. Any objection to that?
No.
Okay. And
I mean, I don't know if they have an objection, but it would be proper because you're limited by the scope of cross before.
Thank you. Can we sit for a minute because I'm not quite
Sure.
done?
Is there anything we should address before the weekend? I know there's a brief that's due by the defendants by noon on Sunday.
That's right.
There is one other thing we should probably talk about is timing.
sorry?
We need to talk about timing on witnesses. I know
Yes,
that
that's
you've
what I
got.
wanna talk
Yeah, okay, great.
Let's talk.
Anything else for the court?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So how are we going to, in theory, they were supposed to rest today. I'm not complaining. I mean, there's one more witness, as I understand it, which is Terry Sanderson. Can the plaintiffs confirm?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
All right, so
So
we're,
on Monday morning, we'll start with Mr. Sanderson.
no.
Yes.
Okay.
I need to be heard on this.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't say no to you, Your Honor. We have 7 witnesses lined up because there was no question that plaintiffs were going to rest on Friday. So 7 people are all lined up back to back. And Mr. Sanderson's here, and I didn't expect them. We sort of flip-flopped this in a way, because they've heard from plaintiff, they've heard from the defendant before we've never even heard from the plaintiff. But I have back-to-back witnesses Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, which leaves Mr. Sanderson to testify on Thursday next week. It is possible that almost all of these people have flown in from out of state to be very precise on timing. And I don't think we should be punished. I think I raised this several times, like I need to set up our witnesses. And I'm talking about 16 witnesses, very busy physicians out of state. My client's family is coming in just for this and then leaving. So I'm not critical. We are where we are, but I made it clear multiple times that and I don't want to be limited in my time for Mr. Sanderson.
And Your Honor,
So what's the request?
That
we take witnesses out of order?
We work in Sanderson when we can.
All right. And what's the plaintiff's position on that request?
Object to that.
What do you propose happen?
We have a case, and we'd like to have it finished so that we can rest appropriately. Terry Sanderson is an important part of that case. We have a right to put him on. Now, I don't want to throw stones here, but there's a lot of reasons why this took longer than it should have, okay? And it's not our fault. We worked as hard as we could. So, I think we take Terry Sanderson on Monday. We will have him for about an hour.
yeah, I'm taking his direct, and I will commit to the court that we will be done with direct in an hour.
Okay.
And so I think we do that, and we fit him in as we can. I mean, we had problems too.
Okay.
You know, we caught a witness short to get out of town. That happens.
And after that witness, then you'll be resting?
Yes.
Okay.
So this puts me at a bad position, Your Honor, with my witnesses. I raised this multiple times. We're going to rest on Friday. We're going to rest on Friday. We're going to rest on Friday. Some of these are Deer Valley people. This is the best snow year in 20 years. They're losing income by coming. And some of them, for instance, can come during a 2-hour window. That's how tight it is.
Is anyone in the 9 to 10 window?
Yes. So it goes Moses. It's probably going to go this way. Moses, Apple, Brad, Eric Christensen, Whitney Smith, Steve Graff. Right now, we're not calling Carrie Oakes, and she's not under subpoena.
And why can't the family members be called later?
It's true that Carrie Oakes, actually, I don't think we've made a final decision on. Your question once more, I'm sorry.
Why can't the family members be called later?
They're missing school. They're taking flights in, flights out. I promised them they'd be on and off that morning. And I did that on some good faith basis here that we're going to start our case on Monday morning.
Okay. Well, here's my ruling, is that I agree with Mr. Sykes. The plaintiff has their case. They're entitled to put their case on. What I'm hearing is that there's 1 more hour before they rest. You don't have to cross-examine the plaintiff at that time. If you have witnesses that you need to put on right away, you can call the plaintiff in your case. And it sounds as though, well, you'll have to make some adjustments for that 1 hour. I think it's a reasonable way to look at it. Sure. I mean, I've ruled. Do you?
It's something related to what Mr. Owens just said. It was our understanding Carrie Oakes was subpoenaed by the defendant.
Yeah, we were counting on that.
She's a very key witness, and we understand she was subpoenaed for this trial. We are counting on her being called during the
Called
verification
when?
check.
Oh, okay.
There's no
Well, I don't
subpoena.
think he's outlined all the witnesses he's calling.
But he did represent that he's not sure if she's been subpoenaed.
I know she has not been subpoenaed.
Well, you've got the weekend to subpoena her.
Well, we relied on them.
On
We didn't want
who?
to have to call her and have her here twice. We relied on their statement that they would call her, and that's the
We
problem.
coordinated with their counsel
Yeah.
too, to that.
And-
to that
If she's
effect.
unavailable, then we'd ask to read her deposition.
Yeah, see if you can work it out over the weekend, get her here, and if not, we can do the deposition.
That really is, because we relied on that.
So I need to
We relied on that.
So I don't represent Deer Valley, just so you know. Deer Valley has a lawyer. He's been involved through the whole thing. You've seen my correspondence with him. You can show me any emails. I'll stand by whatever I said.
Yeah, I don't
But
think,
I don't control these people.
it's Friday afternoon, past 5 o'clock. I only want to hear what I absolutely have to hear so that I can prepare for Monday morning.
Can I just say one last thing? The defense told us Carrie Oakes was in her case going to be heard on.
Right over my head. Hear about it formally, rather than, I guess, just comments flowing back and forth, lawyer to lawyer. I'd like to hear about it. I'd like you to lay out what is the issue, what do you want me to decide,
Well,
and what
that's a fair
are the
request,
facts
right?
that support that.
Fair request, we'll do that for you.
Okay.
I want to put one thing on the record. We have provided to plaintiffs highlighted testimony of Jenny Sanderson, who's our witness on Tuesday, March 28th.
So have you provided the plaintiffs with your expected witness list for Monday?
I just outlined it.
Have you got everything you need over here for Monday?
What was that list one more time then?
Okay.
So the order might need to be jostled.
And then the other thing is that the parties are going to get together about redacting any personal information on the exhibits.
And what I'd like to do, Judge, is have both sides, so we don't have to admit everything and take extra time. Let's just do one motion to admit all the exhibits, both sides. Fair enough?
If referenced.
Unless there's an objection, obviously.
If they've been referenced in the trial, not if they haven't been.
You guys work that out, and we'll
Yep.
address it maybe at 8:30 on Monday morning. Actually, I think I have a hearing at 8:30 on Monday morning. I do, I have a hearing at 8:30 on Monday morning. So it'll have to be at 8 o'clock if there's anything that the court needs to address. Okay?
Your Honor, do you plan to address that motion that we're going to send you some briefing on
Do
by
I
Sunday
need
at
to
noon?
before we start on Monday, or could it be done after hours on Monday?
I'd say
Huh?
after.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
not
think
one
you
of the
need to.
witnesses.
That's correct.
All right, we'll look at doing it after hours then. All right, have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.